He's just a regular guy with a cool job that God loves for some reason. Welcome to the Steve Marston Show, a daily journey in learning how to live more like Jesus, conversations with those that God is working through, and dad jokes. It's the most unique show you'll hear today. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome in. It's a thrill and delight to be with you as always. It's the Steve Marston Show on a fun Friday. Thank you for listening on great radio stations like AM 630 The Word in San Antonio. And those of you that are listening on 99.5 The Word in Little Rock. And a special welcome to all of you that are listening on your own schedule, on your own time, whether it's through your phone on the podcast, or maybe you're listening to us through YouTube or our website. Welcome in, one and all. And I wanted to get started today by telling you about our YouTube page. Now, you've heard us talking about the revamping we've done of everything from, we've stripped everything down to the studs, as they would say, in construction. And we are rebuilding this show. And I always try to be as transparent with you as I can. And we need more YouTube people. We need more people to subscribe. We need more people to share the videos. We need more people to ring that notification bell, because the more people that do that, the more exposed this show is. And we are growing, and we want to continue to grow. But I'll just be honest with you. I can't do it on my own. The rest of the team here, we can't do it on our own. It has to come from you. So we ask you to do that. When you are on YouTube next time, head over to the Steve Marston Show page, like, subscribe, share, do all of that stuff, because it will really help us grow the show. So if you are digging what we're doing and you're a fan, be an active participant, please. We're begging you. We don't like to beg, but we'll go ahead and beg. So please do that. YouTube.com/Steve Marston Show. So I want to get started today with a little bit lighter of a topic, since it is a fun Friday. I remember several months ago, I was asked to give a devotion on a Wednesday night to our church. Now, look, I'm not a pastor. I don't pretend to be a pastor. I don't want to be a pastor. But I do love Bible teaching, and I do love being able to take the things that God has shown me and pass along to you. That's why I love this show. And I was able to do that with a group of people on a Wednesday night. And again, I love Wednesday nights at our church, because Wednesday nights are such a collection of people at different spiritual levels. You've got the diehards that are going to be there every time the doors are open, so they are there. But then you've also got a bunch of couples in all kinds of age ranges that have dropped off their kids for our kids ministry stuff that we do on Wednesday night. And instead of going home, they come and participate in this Bible study. So we've got people that are, decades in their walk with Jesus, and then maybe even some people that don't even know Christ as Savior yet. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's a blessing that I get to do every so often. So anyway, I was having a chance to do that one time, and I did an open response. I said, let's think about this. If you had an opportunity to hang out with someone that was in the Bible, to be a friend of theirs, to be an eyewitness of everything that they did, who would it be? And of course, we had to immediately take Jesus off the table, because everybody would have wanted that, included me. But I said, let's think a little bit harder on it. And we got some of the typical responses, Paul and Peter and John. And some people said John the Baptist. One lady even said Ruth from the Old Testament. We had a David from the Old Testament given as well. And I thought, okay, those are great. But then I said, let me tell you about a person that I can't wait to meet when I get to heaven. At some point in eternity, I want to spend some time with this guy. And his name is Asaph. Now, look, I know you've probably never heard of him, but you need to know about Asaph. Asaph was a guy in the Old Testament. He was handpicked by King David to lead worship at the tabernacle. And then later on, when the temple was built, he was leading worship there. And not only was he like the worship leader, but he oversaw all the worship. So this is a guy who had a great relationship with God, who was a godly person, and yet he ran into some hard obstacles. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Asaph wrote several Psalms that are in our Bible. And one of the Psalms is Psalm 73. And Asaph starts that psalm by saying, surely, meaning no doubt, absolutely, God has been good to Israel. And I think we can extrapolate that out to us, can't we? God has been so good to us as individuals and as our church families. However, Asaph goes on to list things about the ungodly and about how kind of jealous he was of the ungodly because they get away with everything. They don't pay one bit of attention to what God says, and they're prospering. They don't have any lack of food. They don't have any lack of wealth. They don't have any lack of power and of influence. And Asaph looks around and says, why should I keep doing what I'm doing? Why should I continue to be living this godly life and disciplining myself and saying no to some pleasurable things and saying no to myself in general? Why should I keep doing that when those that aren't following Jesus, or at least in this time aren't following God, they're prospering? And here I am struggling to make ends meet. Can you relate? Boy, I sure could. In fact, the more times I read that, the more I became enamored with this psalm. It's become my favorite psalm of them all. And Asaph lists all of these reasons why the ungodly are prospering and how unjust that is. And it's in the midst of all this that Asaph stops and he says, it wasn't until I entered the house of the Lord that I realized their end. Now, wait a minute. It wasn't until he entered the house of the Lord. He's there every week. He's the guy that leads worship, for crying out loud. What does he mean by that? Well, I think he is talking about not just going to church, but worshiping. Because there's a difference between spectating and participating. Can I get an amen, somebody? And that's what Asaph finally did. Even as a staff leader, somebody that was looked up to as a godly person, he finally came to the point where he was worshiping. And he realized that, yes, temporarily, the ungodly, they may have it made right now. They may have everything that we would kind of desire to have because we feel like, well, we're following God and God ought to bless us in that way. But eternity speaking, there's no comparison. Asaph is like, I know what's awaiting them eternally. They don't believe, they don't care, and they have made their decision. I believe, I care, and I have made my decision, and eternity is going to be much greater for me than it is for them. So, yes, they can have their temporary. I'm going to focus on the eternal. And once we do that, that changes everything. So can you relate to Asaph? Boy, I sure can. In fact, I kidded with our congregation that night. I said, I'm going to get me a T-shirt. It says to ask me about Asaph, because I really feel so strong about this. This guy just is so relatable to me, and I hope it's relatable to you. I would encourage you to read Psalm 73 and just kind of digest it and take it in, because every time it feels like life is given us a bunch of lemons and we are trying our best to live for God and do the right thing and be a good citizen and all of those type things that we know we're supposed to do, and it seems like we get the shaft. It seems like the short end of the stick always comes to us. Well, guess what? Asaph assures us that, yes, that may happen for the next 5, 10, 20 years of whatever remaining time we have in life, but any of that is not going to be comparable to what is awaiting us. And we've got to keep our eyes focused on eternity and not so much temporary situations, even though they can be hard and difficult, that are here among us now. So check out Psalm 73. It is so good. The Steve Marston Show continues, the only real Christian radio show and podcast that really matters. It's great to be with you, and we've got our website. We've talked about it a lot lately, and I want to continue to hit it hard because I want you to visit SteveMarstonShow.com. It's so much bigger than this radio show or podcast. It really is becoming an online library because we are working hard to make it where every search engine from Google to YouTube and on down, whenever people are searching for Christian topics, they're going to be exposed to our show. Like, for instance, if they're trying to find some hope through the loss of a spouse, one of the things that'll pop up when they type that in will be our conversation with Drew Klein, who had lost his spouse just a few months ago. Or maybe it's dealing with childhood cancer, and our conversation with Michael Loudermilk will pop up. Or a myriad of other things that we have talked about and had people on discussing in their lives. It's such an online database that it is so impressive. And I'm so thankful that our website guys are doing the job that they are. And we just need you to click around and check it out for us. We would love for you to do that. Again, it's SteveMarstonShow.com. Again, we are greatly appreciative for you doing that. Every week on Friday, we like to review the online paper magazine news source of record. And that is not the Washington Post. It is not Politico. It is not the New York Times, not even the New Orleans Times Picayune. And okay, I just like to say the word Picayune. But it is the Babylon Bee. The Bee is the online satire of record for the Christian life in the Christian circle, in the Christian bubble. And if I'm brutally honest, I'm kind of jealous that I didn't create it myself because I'm a smart aleck at heart and I would love to poke fun at the Christian bubble. So they beat me to it. So the least I guess I can do is to expose it to you every single week. So let's get the Bee underway for this fun Friday. Here's 12 clear signs your husband does not love you anymore. The Bee says relationships are hard work, especially for women. That's because if there's anything men love more than trucks, jackhammers, and sport games, it's dropping subtle clues about how they feel instead of just talking to you. Am I right, ladies? You know I am. And sometimes those clues your husbands drop are bad news. At any moment, he could be signaling to you that he just does not love you anymore. So here's what you need to do. Look for these 12 sure signs that your hubby no longer loves you. All right, here we go. Let's get started with number 12. When you ask if he would remarry if you died, he says, no, of course not, but hesitated for like 0.3 seconds first. You know what he was doing for those 0.3 seconds, don't you? Thinking of another woman that he can't wait to marry as soon as you die because he does not love you. Number 11, he offered to cook dinner tonight because he doesn't like your cooking or all the things you do for him or you. Did he ever even love you in the first place? Number 10, he said, wow, you look pretty tonight. Babe, you look pretty every night, and he obviously doesn't think so. Leave his sorry rear end now. Number 9 on the Babylon Bee's list of 12 clear signs your husband does not love you anymore. He talked politely to the waitress at Denny's and even smiled at her in your dream last night. Cheating. He's definitely cheating. Also, he doesn't love you. Number 8, he didn't bring you home a Diet Coke from the store, even though you told him you did not want one. He should know you by now that your yes, I want a Diet Coke means yes, and your no, I do not want a Diet Coke also means yes. Number 7, he left on an odyssey almost 10 years ago and hasn't come back. Who does he think he is? Some sort of man who leads an odyssey? Psh. Number 6, he has only married you one time. Some of your friends have been married way more times. He clearly has no feelings for you whatsoever. We're up to number 5 on the 12 clear signs your husband doesn't love you anymore. During the foot rub he gives you every day after he gets home from work, he only spends 15 minutes on each foot. He's just not the same man you married. Number 4, he was looking at his phone instead of at you while you were also looking at your phone. You deserve better than this, Queen. We're up to number 3 on the Babylon Bee's 12 clear signs your husband does not love you anymore. And number 3 is, when you said you were hungry and asked if he was hungry, he said, "Not really, babe, but you go ahead and get something." He wants you to starve to death and probably thinks you're fat. Number 2, he only uses 2 exclamation points when he texts, "I love you." You know what that means? He probably uses 3 exclamation points when he talks to the guys about how excited he is for the fantasy football draft he's got coming up. That may actually be true. And the number 1 reason that you can look for as a clear sign that your husband does not love you anymore, ladies, he said he wouldn't love you if you were a worm. So what? He's been hanging out with some younger, cuter girl, worm floozies? He hates you. There you go. That's the list of 12 clear signs your husband does not love you anymore. So go ahead and start picking up the pieces of your broken life right now. That's the Babylon Bee in review here on the Steve Marston Show for this Friday. Hey, hang on. Speaking of entertainment, we're going to be talking with Paul Asay. He is the director of PluggedIn.com. It's a ministry of focus on the family, and we're going to be talking about some of the movies that are going to be out in theaters this week, but also some of the new albums and video games and streaming options that are available that you need to be made aware of, and what is going to be best for you and your family. So hang on. More of the Steve Marston Show coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. The Steve Marston Show continues, where faith and fun are both taken seriously. We're glad that you're joining us, and love for you to check out our YouTube page where you can see everything we've got there, all the conversations that we've had with the individuals over the last few weeks, as well as full episodes and so much more. It's all new. We would love for you to kind of kick the tires on it, click around, and, of course, like and subscribe. YouTube.com/Steve Marston Show. It's time to welcome in our special guest, and he's a guy that's been on the show from time to time. He is the director of PluggedIn.com, which is a ministry of focus on the family. It's Paul Asay. Hey, buddy, welcome back.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Steve. This is always great to talk with you.
Well, I'm glad that you're making some time for us today, because we always like to talk about all the things that are coming out entertainment-wise. You guys do such an amazing job over at Plugged In of just providing information. And that's kind of what your whole aim and foundation is, just to let everybody know what the content is of all, not only movies, but books and video games and music and streaming and everything that's entertainment. So we're glad to be able to talk to you about it. And you and I were just chatting off the air, talking about how after Spider-Man came out in the big release and it's making a gazillion dollars, this is kind of a quiet week at the box office.
Yeah, it's almost like Hollywood just took a big, deep breath and exhaled.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow, we are done with that. So, yeah, there have been a lot of afterthoughts sort of rolling into theaters the last couple of weeks. We have a big one next week that we've actually seen. That's Coyote versus Acme, which I know a lot of people will be excited about. But for now, the pickings are a little bit slim, especially for family-friendly stuff.
Yeah.
Probably the best best bet we've got here is the Magic Faraway Tree, which is a PG movie that is in fairly limited release. If you're in a small town, chances are you won't necessarily be able to see it. But it does have some nice messages. It features a pretty strong cast. Claire Foy, who some people might remember from The Crown, is in it. She stars alongside Andrew Garfield, who's been nominated for 2 Oscars. They are parents of kids, and this is an issue that is near and dear to Plugged In's heart. Their kids are a little bit screen obsessed.
Oh, yeah.
They spend way too much time on screens. And so they decide to make a quantum change in their lifestyle. They move out into the country to raise tomatoes. But as they sort of start that process along, the kids get an invitation from some magical creature inviting them to the Faraway Tree. This Faraway Tree is magic, of course, and it becomes a portal to a whole bunch of other lands. This PG movie has obviously a lot of magical elements. It's right there in the title. A lot of people may be disturbed by some of the spirituality, the quasi-spirituality that we see. The kids actually have to chant, "I believe in magic" 3 times, which I think will rub a lot of parents the wrong way. But at the same time, it has some great messages. As we said, that idea of taking screen time seriously is near and dear to our heart. It's also great to see such a strong family and such a strong marriage that's sort of the head of that family. The Claire and Andrew's characters, they love each other, and that love only grows stronger as the movie goes along. And that's really encouraging to see.
Well, I bet it is, because, isn't it sad to think that, strong marriages and good fatherly and motherly role models in movies aren't there anymore? But I guess it's a reflection of society. That's what they would say, because it's not happening in society. It's not happening in the movies. But you're right. That's a breath of fresh air for sure. Before we move on, Paul, let's talk a little bit about, we gave last week the breakdown, the review of Spider-Man, but I want to talk to you about just your personal view of it. let me just ask you, how many times have you seen it?
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I haven't seen it at all.
Oh, no. You're like the only person in America.
I'm the only person in America, and I cover all these superhero movies.
Right? I know. Man.
I feel you have called me out, and I feel like I'm derelict in my duties now, and I feel terrible.
Well, listen, and the reason I was bringing it up to you is because so many of the Marvel movies that we've seen in the past, I think, are too inside baseball. They have so much references to people and characters that if you're not just one of those people that nerd out over it, you don't really know about them. Because I sit there and I'm watching, I'm confused, and I have to ask my 12-year-old, hey, what's this? What's up? Because they get it, they understand it. But I got to tell you, you need to go see Spider-Man, because it's a great standalone movie. I thought it was perfectly well done. You didn't have to be a Marvel insider to catch all the references and to know it was. They told the story that, if you missed the first couple of movies, they kind of caught you up as to why the things are happening now based on that. But I thought it was such a well done movie. It was, I got to tell you, one of the best movies I've seen in such a long time. It was no any kind of questionable stuff. It was just a good old fashioned storytelling of a movie, and I just loved it. I thought it was great.
See, I think that's so nice to hear. I think that I haven't seen the latest Spider-Man, but I've seen the previous 3 starring Tom Holland, and I really do think that they've done a really remarkable job with that franchise. Spider-Man is one of the best-known superheroes on the face of the earth, and they treated his franchise really well with this series. And, yeah, I think that in terms of kind of those Marvel movies, they tend to be a little bit more friendly to folks who are just being introduced to this world. They do serve really strong standalone stories, which is what, the Marvel Cinematic Universe did way back.
Yeah, at the original, right. That's right.
Right.
Paul Asay is our guest here on the Steve Marston Show. He is the director of PluggedIn.com, and if you bookmark websites, which I'm sure you do, you've got to bookmark this because they are your entertainment source. They're not going to tell you what to think or, hey, you should not go see this. But what they do is just give you all the information and let you decide. And it is, I'm telling you, let's focus on the family. So it's incredibly well done. And Paul is the director, and he joins us here on the Steve Marston Show. But more than movies, you guys do all things entertainment. And I know one of the things that a lot of people are looking forward to, especially girls of a certain age, is Ariana Grande. She just released a brand new album called Pedal, and you guys have a breakdown of that.
Yeah, we do. And I tell you what, the album has sold well. I think I saw some stat that it has sold more than 10 times the copies of its nearest competitor on the music chart. So you know that Pedal is getting a lot of listens. It doesn't hurt that Grande has been in the news so much lately. She announced that she's stepping away from the public eye in part because of the scrutiny that has been paid to her weight. Mm-hmm. But she's still making a ton of money from Pedal, and she delivers some interesting messages in that album. And I got to tell you, the messages aren't necessarily that great. Yeah. It's an angry album. It really takes even her fans to task. She is when she speaks, she talks about how much she loves her fans. Pedal gives a little bit of a different message in a lot of ways. It is profane. It has references to drug use. It definitely talks about a lot of one-night stands, if you will. You know, these are issues that I think, especially because Grande really appeals to, as you say, girls of a certain age. That's something that parents need to be aware of. The content that is on this album is not necessarily, kid or even teen friendly.
Yeah, and we don't live in Kansas anymore. It used to be you would have these child stars that your kids grew up with, and then they would make a pop album or something, and it was just regular singing about normal type things, and it just isn't that way anymore. Because and Ariana Grande holds a little place in my family's heart because my kids grew up watching Victorious, and I would tell my kids I was watching the show with them, and I found entertainment in the show, and I kept telling them, I said, look, they have missed the boat on this. The redheaded girl, she's the star. She's the one that's got the voice. It's the first time I've ever been right in calling something like that. But my kids all give me credit for saying, yeah, Dad got that one right. Ariana Grande was the breakout star there. But anyway, we're talking with Paul Asay. He is from Plugged In, and we're just reviewing some of the stuff that's online, and not only online, but in theaters and stuff, too, that you might be consuming. And when you talk about some of the things from these child stars, the franchise that is maybe the most known is Camp Rock, and it is coming back. Camp Rock 3 is on the horizon.
Camp Rock 3 is actually playing on Disney Plus right now.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I tell you what, when we talk about it, it is a great segue because, Ariana Grande, she was one of those starlets that came up through Nickelodeon, actually. But Disney has long been this factory for these up-and-coming singer-actors that have just sort of exploded on the scene. And if you can think way, way, way back to the original Camp Rock, it launched really the careers of a couple of really important acts, and that was Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers. Mm-hmm. Demi played this girl named Mitchie, who sort of got into a relationship with the character named Shane Gray, who was played by Joe Jonas. That sort of really put them both on the map. I think the Jonas Brothers were pretty popular before then, but it brought them up another level. Now everybody's back. The Jonas Brothers make an appearance. We do have a little cameo from Demi Lovato herself, but we're dealing with a new group of kids, another talented group of kids who want to sing and dance and act their way to stardom. Camp Rock is this place that in the fictional world that it's set in has launched so many careers, and everybody who goes pretty much wants to be a star, or they just love music. And the main focal point is someone who loves stardom more than almost anything else. Her name is Sage. She finds that her love of stardom is getting in the way of some of her relationships, which is a nice message as far as it goes. For families, Camp Rock 3, it is pretty clean. You won't find very much problematic content. This is as innocuous as the show can get. You know, you don't even really have any strong language to speak of. There's no violence. Two characters almost kiss, but they're prevented from doing so. But I do think that sometimes these stories, especially stories that come from Disney, they really sort of the worldview is almost something that we need to pay more attention to than the actual content issues. Because the worldview, it does tend to elevate this idea of stardom. It elevates this idea of pursue your dreams regardless of what other people say. And there's a place for that. There's a context for that. But I think it needs to be shaped really for parents, because if you take those messages to extreme, they can make they can push in a much more selfish direction, a much more me-serving direction. And as Christians, you know, we're not supposed to be about me. We're supposed to be about God. We're supposed to be about other people. So those messages within context, they can be managed, but it really takes, I think, a parental hand to help guide kids through those messages.
See, I think that's such an excellent point, because, again, with the original kind of Camp Rock, when my daughter especially was watching it and singing all the songs at the top of her lungs and playing it all through the house, we didn't have to really worry so much about that. But over those, 25 years it's been or whatever, or maybe not that long, maybe 10 or 15 years, it's changed. You're right. That's such a good point. Paul Asay is our guest here on the Steve Marston Show. He's from PluggedIn.com, a ministry of focus on the family. So in our remaining couple of minutes here, let's talk a little bit about what's at the website, including those tutorials and the blogs and everything you guys have got. That's just more kind of ammunition for parents to be able to make better decisions.
Yeah, you bet. We really do, as you say, we really do try to help parents walk through these bewildering worlds of entertainment and technology. So because of that, we review lots of movies. That's probably what we're best known for. But we review TV shows, music, video games, YouTube channels, books. We have reviews for all of that. We also do a lot of talking about technology and social media and screen time. Those are worlds that I think that sometimes parents feel like their kids know better than they do. And so we try to give parents the tools that they need to help lead their kids, guide their kids through that bewildering world. And let me tell you, there's one area that I would love to point people to, and that is Plugged In's Tech Guide. We have a tech guide that's actually meant for parents. It's called Parents Guide to Technology. We do this every year. This year's edition is 125 pages worth of really fantastic information of what parents need to know to help their kids walk through issues of screen time, social media, and technology. And it's totally free. So you can go to the website PluggedIn.com and download that for free. Just look right below the main picture there. You'll see a place to click. That is a great resource, I think, for parents just to help them navigate through this bewildering world.
That is so great. I didn't know that you guys were doing that, but especially 125 pages. I know how important it is to you guys, and that just kind of shows it. So, yeah, I definitely recommend going and finding it. So you just go to the PluggedIn.com and in the search engine type what is it we're looking for?
You bet. And you can go directly to it if you wanted to go to just PluggedIn.com/tech guide. That'll take you right to where you need to go, and you'll be able to download it right from there. And even though it's 125 pages, hopefully our team wrote them in such a way that they're really easily digestible. Lots of practical information, just some practical tools to help moms and dads deal with social media, screen time, and technology in their lives.
I love to say it as information overload in the best way possible, because that's really what you guys do. I'm serious. That really is what you guys do. And I'm so thankful that Focus on the Family saw the need for doing this and put you guys in place, because it really is a great and wonderful resource for all of us as parents trying to, like you say, navigate these waters that are getting harder and harder to do so throughout as time goes on. Paul, thanks so much for your time, and have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
You too, Steve. Thank you so much.
Steve Marston Show continues. It's the most unique Christian show / podcast you'll hear today, maybe ever. And we're thrilled to be with you. Our website's got a freebie for you, and I think it's worth your time to go get. It's a free PDF called 5 Tips for Bible Study, and it was not originated with me. Let me just put that out there first. These are tips and strategies that I have used from other people and kind of tailored to my own, but I think because it helps me, it will help you. And I know that maybe you're not ready for this step yet, but at some point, I think it's imperative for all of us as believers to not have to rely on workbooks and devotional books, but to be able to open God's Word and to be able to rightly handle it, to be able to correctly interpret what the things they're saying in Scripture. Now, look, it's not hard. It's not rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. However, these tips will help you. So I would encourage you to head over to stevemarstonShow.com and look for the 5 Bible study tips, free PDF. It's real simple. You just fill out the little form, hit submit, and it comes to you as a link in your email box. So it's a direct digital download. You'll get it instantaneously. Again, that free PDF is at stevemarstonShow.com. Let's get to some stories that you may have missed. There is a battle in the courts now from this Christian heavy metal band suing Netflix. Demon Hunter is the name of a Christian band that's been around for more than 25 years. I don't know. Have you heard of these guys? Look, I'll be honest, I haven't, but I'm not exactly a heavy metal guy. But they've been around. They've got like 12 albums and have hundreds of thousands of monthly Spotify streams. And the band owns the trademark Demon Hunter. And they use it for their merchandise and recorded music. And they are suing Netflix because they are using it for their K-pop Demon Hunters series, or the Demon Hunter series, I guess. And in the lawsuit, it says in just a year's time, the defendants, meaning Netflix, have taken step after step to move into an almost complete overlap with the goods and services offered by the trademark. As a result of their adoption and exploitation of the K-pop Demon Hunters brand, which is confusingly similar to the band's name, Netflix Studios, and AEG, the parent company, have created substantial likelihood of confusion, leading consumers to believe the party's goods and services or are affiliated, sponsored, or otherwise connected to one another. And K-pop citing the fact that one fan purchased more than 500 tickets for $500 in tickets for he and his young children to see a K-pop Demon Hunters concert, only to wind up at a screaming Demon Hunter show. The band points out that Netflix has made a practice to, quote, jealously guard and enforce their own intellectual property rights while disregarding the rights of others in pursuit of profits. All right, so we'll see how that plays out. This one is kind of strange, and I really don't understand it at all. It's Corey Asbury. He's a worship leader. He's had a lot of songs out on Christian radio, but Corey is having to apologize because he's receiving some backlash, and you're not going to believe why. Because he and another Christian artist by the name of Forrest Frank, you know him, were out working out. You know, they were lifting weights, and they took a picture of themselves with no shirt on while they were working out. And some people objected to him being immodest. In fact, there is like the digital, pixelated thing that whether it's somebody who's testifying for the FBI or whatever, it puts over their face. Well, that's what they've done with their shot of them with their shirts off, posing like WWE wrestlers. And yeah, they had to come out and apologize for that. My goodness gracious, I can't even believe that. Speaking of music, we've got another story. Kid Rock has released a new album, and this one is more of an album that has been inspired by his faith journey. Yeah, this came as a social media announcement with the rap artist reflected on his Devil Without a Cause album, turning 28. He said, "What a trip, man. Time marches on with thanks to all of you that are still here. Might have a little left in the tank." Anyway, Kid Rock goes on to talk about his next album being his spiritual journey, and it will be released this fall. The quote is, "The new album will be mastered next week, and then we'll start feeding stuff out with titles and songs and song titles and shoot videos and all that fun stuff." He says, "I'm really looking forward to people hearing this. It's been a crazy journey that I've been on, this spiritual journey, but I've come a long way and I've grown stronger in my faith." And then he goes on to say that Kid Rock is still a Kid MF Rock, only he didn't use the letters MF. He actually spelled out the entire word. So, yeah, that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to agree with, right? All right, let's see what else story you may have missed. Oh, this one is so crazy. I don't know. Maybe you have a different thought on it, but there's preparations being made for Jesus's 2000th anniversary of his baptism. I know this sounds like a Babylon Bee story. I really get that, but there are a group of people that are looking forward to 2030, where they say this is Jesus' year that he got baptized, because he was 30 years old, and when he was baptized to start his public ministry. And so they're going to have preparations there at the Jordan River in a spot where they think is where it actually took place. And who knows how commercial this thing is going to be. Am I right? Can you imagine people selling T-shirts and hats and like doing live video streams of people getting baptized in the Jordan River where Jesus was baptized? I can see it all. It could be really reverent, and it could be a really well thought out and well done thing, but I'm so afraid it's going to hit that slippery slope and just be another commercial outlet, and it's not going to be anything for a spiritual journey and a real commemoration. It's just going to be another excuse for people to sell merchandise. I know that's incredibly cynical. I know that there's some good-hearted people working on this, and I truly, truly hope that it does become something worthy of worship and being a holy deal. But I just know people. I just know how they think and how they act, and I'm just afraid that it's not going to be what the organizers really intend for it to be. But we'll look for that coming up in a few years, in 2030, the anniversary of Jesus's baptism plus 2,000 years. Back with more in a minute.
Here at the Steve Marston Show, we are serious about faith, but we love a good dad joke, too.
The dad joke of the day comes from the home office in Rose City, Arkansas. My neighbor knocked on my door at 2:30 this morning. Can you believe that? Well, luckily, I was still awake playing my drums at the time. The nerve of some people, am I right? Steve Marston Show continuing on this fun Friday. So glad to be with you and looking forward to next week. We've got a couple of really neat conversations scheduled. One of them is with Dana House. Looking forward for you hearing that interview. She's written a new book about her experience with her son, who almost died after just being 3 weeks old. It is a powerful story, and she's turned it into a children's book. So you're going to love that. It's a fun conversation, and we'll have for you next week here on the Steve Marston Show. So be heads up for that. Okay, let's get to Faith Between Our Ears. This is the final day where we are looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9. We've learned it all week, or we have worked on it all week. I hope you have it down pat by now. And again, it's not so much of having it word by word, verbatim, but really understanding what it's driving at and what the meaning of it is. Paul wrote this to the Corinthians, and it says, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has imagined what God has prepared for those who love him." Having this verse in between our ears will help us when times get tough, when times are the hardest, when we feel like we are just at our end. We can mentally go back and get this verse and pull it out and realize that not only is God not through with us yet, but he's got so much more in store for us. That's the beauty of it. In fact, it's in both the Old and New Testament, because Paul is quoting from Isaiah chapter 64 when he says this. So that's how important God thinks that it is for us to know that. He put it in both the Old and in the New Testaments. So I hope you've got it down. If you don't, it's not too late. All you have to do is memorize it. Just take some time to spend with God's Word by yourself, whether that's just reading it over and over again. Maybe you've got to read it out loud to yourself. Maybe you've got to write it out longhand on a notebook for, 2 or 3 or 4 times. But whatever it takes, use that discipline, that part of being a disciple, and learn this verse. Again, faith between your ears is 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9 for this week. Coming up on Monday, we'll have a fresh Bible verse that we'll start to learn for faith between your ears. Okay, so as we close up shop today, we leave you with a call to action, your next step. And what is your next step? I think it's to find someone in the Bible that you relate to. And it could be anybody, whether it's relating to them because of good qualities, or maybe looking at them and saying, you know what, I could see in my life that if I were to continue down this road, I would end up like this person. And I don't want that to happen. So it could be positive or negative, but find someone that really you relate to and study about them and learn about them. Okay, we're out of time. Adios.